Maybe you're one of those designers or researchers who are struggling to find a project idea or just a project to work with. Maybe you're drowning in conceptual cases and you're not sure what to work on to enrich your portfolio. And I'm glad you opened this video, because in the past we ran quite a few challenges like that. It was to do with the prototyping, there was about improving of the voting experience, to do with redesigning a service cancellation process and customer experience there, and we received so many different entries. It was incredible to witness, and I kind of figured out, let's do another one. Let's run a month's worth of challenge time where you can do whatever you want. I'm just gonna give you a brief, I'm gonna pretend to be a business owner, I'm gonna pretend to be your UX mentor, give you a few pointers, and then you can spend a few weeks, try to research, try to design, do UX end-to-end, do service design, customer experience design, whatever you feel like is most appropriate for a given point. As per usual, I have prepared a board outlining the context, the business needs, the issues, what the users could be potentially. Again, it's hinting at it, so I'm having my kind of like hypothetical thinking, who a competition could be, where the possible insights, and then a few different activities you could take as a suggestive measure. The context of it is the housing market. You again could take UK, you could take any other metropolitan area, but ultimately we all live either in one of those areas or close by. So you should be able to relate and reflect. If you are doing something which is close and local to you, make sure to do your own background research, because I did quite a few different bits on the UK market. And for example, in UK market, London, you know, London is the biggest city, therefore it's probably going to be the most expensive. And the data kind of shows that. For example, this interesting metric that average London house prices are 2.9 times higher than prices in the northern areas of Great Britain is a massive thing. Even if, let's say, the data shows that it kind of dropped compared to other areas because again, you know, pandemic hit, customer behaviors changed, so people want bigger gardens, they want, you know, be outside of business, of that rat race, and therefore the prices outside increase, but also London prices are still way too high if you ask me. So it's almost like doubles down where people want to kind of move out and see exactly what's out there. And without, you know, going too deep into other metrics, you can look out, I added you a report as well if you want to know about the market, but the business. Now imagine that I'm this business owner of this tool, of this product called commute.com. And imagine that commute.com is my site, which I, as a hobbyist, made back in the day. And of course I didn't. I'm not taking any credit, but I think it's a good example for this challenge. It's this app basically which allows, for example, if I would just launch it, for me to define exactly where I want to commute from. So, you know, rough area, let's say, and where to I would want to arrive. So for example, one of the stations in London, like zone 1, zone 2, all the different things about the tubes, and then the time, which let's say I would be like 50 minutes, would be where I would want my house to be at, right? Imagine that this is my goal, to find a house in that commute time. That would search and bring me some sort of feed of all the locations around, I guess, London, where it matches that criteria. Now, the caveat here that the tool is quite old, as you can tell, and it obviously has been collecting cobwebs because nothing happens. You know, you can search whatever you want, nothing really happens. So it doesn't really work. And imagine that I'm a business owner. I know that people now are very inclined to look for housing around London. This is an opportunity for me to go and redesign. And this is exactly what the challenge is gonna be about. For you to go and deconstruct it and explore exactly how you could improve it. And I added a few notes about commute.com, exactly what it tries to achieve. I kind of highlighted that already. It has been listed in quite a few different news sources as well, so there is potential in it for sure. I think now is the time to reinvent it and reintroduce it into the market. And as a business owner, as a pretend business owner, I'm gonna go and ask UX designers or researchers like yourself, hey, can you come and redesign? If you notice from my previous shot, we only monetize it by running this ad from Google. That alone cannot cover the cost, and it kind of explains why it hasn't been maintained since, you know, 14, 15. And because the platform is not maintained, there is no functionality for users to, let's say, sign up, to have freemium, premium modes, you know, get more features which they could pay for, let's say, or get more ads, or somehow maybe link it to, I don't know, rentals or property market to, to estate agents, somehow linked through that, so you can actually not just show that commute time, but also say, hey, these are the top properties which you could buy, and then maybe get a cut of that bought, and then that would cover operating costs. Ultimately, imagine that the case here is that they want to attract more customers with this newly redesigned product. However, if they want to do that, they also need to then figure out what channel to target, how to do so, because even if you would just go ahead and redesign that app based on your UX research and everything in between, people are not going to find it. There has to be some sort of rollout campaign. There has to be some sort of motions to say, okay, maybe we're going to list it, I don't know, as the ad, or maybe we're going to ask press to feature it, to almost reinvigorate that buzz and to recreate that demand, because nobody knows about it yet. You can almost stumble by accident by Googling it, or someone might refer to you because they used it back in the day, which happened to me, by the way. How I discovered, one of the colleagues was, hey, you should check this site out, I used it back in the day. And lastly, is of course, if you do those two steps, maybe there's an ability to cover the operation costly or break even. How could you help them monetize it? How could you create some sort of mechanism where, a lot of different parties win? So the users maybe pay for the service. Perhaps it's estate agents who give a cut because it directs users to their sites. So something to think about that. This is the business issues. Now, who are the users? I'm speculating here. I added a few notes about it, again, that people are generally moving out of metropolitan areas, that we are trying to find some sort of new places with bigger gardens, more nature, better work-life balance, things of that nature. But on a high level, I think the users would be new home seekers and estate agents, or perhaps new rental seekers. Some stimulus for you to call out of what you could be looking at and considering is like, who will you target? Ultimately, you need to decide, because that new product you might propose or redesign or wireframe maybe, or just research exactly what could be, on recommendation level improved. Who are most likely to seek homes by looking at the commute times outside those metropolitan areas? What matters to them? How could you engage with them with that newly redesigned product, let's say? What challenge do they face daily? What tools are they using today? So, maybe some experience mapping would help here, because you can then understand as-is journey, something I'm banging on in different videos about, and then apply a layer of opportunities and improvements. A lot of things to consider. And then I also dropped some competition. So for example, Zoopla, which is one of the property finding places where you can actually find a house, and through listings they get the payments. You could also look for a house by basing max travel time, a type of transport. So they use almost the same data set as the commute from used back in the day, I guess. And then we build this mechanism, almost like a different way to search for properties. Think about how that would tie in. How could you compete with them? Or perhaps you just become a middleman to integrate with them. Something to just think about. Additionally, I also dropped you a few links of actual forum discussions. This is something I would refer to if you don't have immediate access to the users, because it could give you a baseline, and maybe you can even engage with some of those people if you find them, or somehow be able to contact them for like a deeper interview if you want to do that. Because there is a lot of kind of like, heart-to-heart discussions explaining exactly why they want to move out. And of course, Google is your friend. You can also Google, you can search on Twitter, on Reddit, find discussions where people actually pour their hearts out, capture that on a high level, and dig deeper later on to exactly, do further research if that's your cup of tea. And as per usual with all these challenges, I also give you a few different bits of what you could be doing. Again, you decide the scope. I can tell you, hey, do UX end-to-end, but it could take you half a year to do that. Make sure that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So if you, let's say, want to improve your research skill, do a research project. Do that first phase of discover where you actually go deep into user research without even thinking about the solution yet. Just take that hypothesis I gave to you, or make your new hypothesis, run with it. If you want to do just UI design or prototyping, do just that. It's as simple as that. Whatever you decide, as long as it fits with your goals, or have it as a starter for the next project or for further project development, that's a win in my books. It's as long as you do something extra that's going to add some value to you and your portfolio, and maybe long term gonna actually help you out to, break into the field or find the next opportunity. I think I covered most of it, but what I didn't cover is that last bit, which is basically that you need to submit the entries. And I'm gonna again review it live, giving my feedback, asking questions on the chat itself. You can submit it to the email hello@vaexperience.com, write some rationale, add some notes, submit it whichever way you want. Some people sent me Miro boards, some sent Word documents, some sent Figma files, or whatever works for you. Ultimately, it doesn't matter, but try to just think of how to make it a proper case study for yourself, or at least again, a starter case study. And the deadline is October the 4th, which gives you roughly a month. I look forward to your submissions. If you like this video, smash that like button, share with a friend who might be in the same bucket as you are, leave a comment down below what you think about it, and if you're up for a challenge. And on that note, I'll see you next time.